One of the old school tricks that I used when I was a kid is to polish the heads of bolts, because we didn't have the money to afford chrome. So we would take a buffing wheel and some buffing compound and we would just buff the heads, and then afterwards what we would do is we would go ahead and put some clear fingernail polish on them, and that would keep it from oxidizing and dulling the finish. With the cadmium plating processes that they use today, you really don't need to actually put the fingernail polish on. If you wanted to put some clear coat on, you could. But I did a little experiment last summer, and I polished 2 of these heads, set them outside for about 4.5, 5 months in all kinds of weather, and then I brought them back in, wiped them off with a little compound, polishing compound, and they were right back up to standards. So you don't really need that. And if your car's parked inside, then you can probably go a lot longer than that. So what we're going to do is we have a couple different kinds of bolts. This is a grade 8. You can tell by the 6 lines around here. This is a harder, stronger bolt than a grade 5. This one has 3 lines. You add 2 to whatever number of lines you have, and that gives you the grade. So we've got a cadmium plated bolt right out of the store. We've got a grade 8 bolt right out of the store. And I'm going to polish the heads right here so you can see the difference. Now you can also do nuts the same way. You can put nuts on. Probably the best way to do it is to put 2 nuts together and then lock them, then polish both nuts at the same time. Then you've got something to hang on to. If you're doing a small bolt, you can buy coupler nuts. Say you're doing a 1/4 inch and it's only like a 1/2 inch long, you want to polish the head, just buy a 1/4 coupler nut, screw a long 1/4 inch bolt in here with a nut on it, and lock it in place, tighten this up against here, and then you can hang on to it, and it gives you kind of a handle to hang on to. The compounds we're going to use is, first we're going to use emery compound right here. You can buy it in different kinds. This one comes from TIP sandblasting equipment. You can get them from Eastwood. You can get them from all kinds of different companies. You can buy them in auto parts stores, paint stores, whatever. The compound is what's important. The emery uses its own wheel. Every time you use a compound, you use a different wheel. You never want to mix compounds with the wheel. So we're going to put a little bit of compound on here. I'm going to polish these, and then we'll go to the next one, which will be triple E. You can use triple E, which is basically for aluminum, but you could also use white rouge, which is a finer one that'll give you a little higher gloss maybe. So there's a couple ways to go. I just use the triple E because it's handy. I've got lots of it, but it does the same job. So I'm going to go ahead and polish these now. A couple things to watch out for. Make sure you've got some safety glasses, and if you're going to do a lot of this, I would suggest you wear a face shield, and then wear a good welding respirator. These are actually made for welding. They take out a lot of the fumes and things. Don't wear just the particle masks. If that's all you've got, I'd double them up. But this, you don't want to actually breathe this type of stuff, because it's just not good for you. So we put the mask on, safety glasses, and then these bolts are going to get hot. So again, we're going to wear our gloves. So I'm going to go ahead and put this stuff on, polish these up, and show you what we're going to do. First I'm going to run the emery, and then I'll run the triple E over here, and it'll show you what it looks like. take a nice soft cloth, polish this up, and you can spend a little more time on it too if you want. You got to be careful you don't take it too much with the emery or the others, because you can wind up actually buffing off all the cad plate, and then you're down to bare metal, and then it's going to give you a problem. But see, that's a pretty quick, cheap way to dress up your engine and everything. Now you can also buy different quality of manufactured bolts. Some of them have more irregularities in here, some of them have less, so you can work with that, but the 8 points and everything kind of actually dress up the bolt quite a bit. A couple things you need to remember is that whenever you're buffing something, you only want to work on this quarter of the wheel. You don't want to work up here or down. So you want to work right down in this area, whatever you're going to be buffing. The buffing wheel throws off a bunch of garbage off of the wheels itself. I put a box to collect it, that way I don't get a mess all over around through my bench and my work area here. Okay, not only bolts and nuts can be polished, but you can take the fittings on brake line hoses. These were kind of a dull gray, and I took these and I buffed these up, both this end and this end. These shackles for the front were all cadmium plated. All the pins and everything, it all comes as a unit. I buffed all of these up. You can see the nuts, the grade 8 nuts here, nuts holding the manifolds on, nuts on the exhaust and also on the intake. You can also buff the brass around on the centers and on the plugs, and then the bolts up here. So you can buff quite a few things. Whatever you think that you would like to have shiny, you can go ahead and buff, and it actually makes quite a difference in the appearance of the overall detail.